Okay guys, so I'm going to be sharing some thoughts with you today from this book, The Plot to Kill God, Findings from the Soviet Experiment in Secularization by Paul Froisi. I think that's how you say his name. This is a brilliant book and I recommend you guys read it. He basically covers the history of the Soviet Union and the communist era, but he looks at it from a sociological perspective. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys that I took from this book was that, look, if you're looking for evidence of the fitra, the innate disposition of man, which recognizes that there is a creator, and that he deserves worship, and this affinity that we have to worship God, if you're looking for evidence for this, look no further. Just look at the history of communist Russia. They tried everything they could to knock the belief of God and religion out of people. Starting off subtle, going by the views of Marx, for example, I believe, where he, had this idea that religion is only relevant and arises because when human beings are not doing too well sociologically and economically, will solve that problem and religion disappears. Well, it didn't. Then you move on to where Lenin started implementing rituals, religious rituals, but without the religion and God, baptisms and funeral rites, etc., just to provide a surrogate, provide an alternative to religion and religious rituals. Even atheist churches, they tried everything they could, and that too failed. And then obviously in the time of or the reign of Stalin, when he came into power, he stepped up to another level after doing some consensus, for example, that he mentions one in 1937, where they sort of had tried to tally what was going on the ground in regards to people's beliefs. They found all of these things that they were trying, all of that propaganda and all of that shutting down of religious institutions, well, just wasn't working. So they stepped it up another notch, then, just massacres, killing priests and religious figures and shutting down churches and religious institutions, etc., etc. The same, in a way, applied to the Muslims in Central Asia. But the point being, they tried to do everything they could in their power to remove the idea of God and religion from the hearts and minds of people, and they failed. You can't suppress human nature. We were created to worship God. We were created to be spiritual. And you can't remove that from people. You can only do it for so long until it returns. There's examples of people post communist Russia, post that era, where they're still, they're returning to religion. They're returning to experimenting with religion and the belief in God. And this also highlights that atheism just can't work on an individual level or on a social level. Like I've said many times before, it removes all meaning. It leaves you with nihilism. When you're there, you can't move forward. There's nothing that motivates you to move forward in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't sit well with your nature. It strips you from those things you know to be true as a human being. And this is why I really recommend anyone that's sincerely looking and searching, all those atheists out there, to really reconsider their atheism and really understand what they're holding on to, and therefore start looking elsewhere. And one of the places I'll recommend you to look is into Islam. And I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's a lot of negative propaganda, right? And we've seen this throughout history. It's a very interesting ploy and tool. If you want to make something look like the bad guy, you just put out negative information about it and do it for so long that it becomes a part of people's psyches. But look past that baggage. And when you really look past that baggage and go to Islam and you study the teachings of Islam, you realize, number one, it's in line with human nature. It answers the most fundamental questions that we have as human beings. It provides stability and balance to the human being. And it has answers to all of our problems, whether on a social level or an individual level. Anyway, let me know your thoughts below and make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Until next time, take care.